using. So that token is for that organization. So I'm saying Helix Meetup. So this is a unique name. As you saw, I say add secret. So now you see these two things are applied. So this is repo wide. So now let's go to environments. I create an environment. Let's say I create an environment. I called it as a dev. Right? I create an environment. I called it as dev. So we can create dev test prod. So within this dev environment, I'm not coming to this reviewer and all, we will see later on. I will add secrets. Secrets means, let's say, any secrets to your environment, any passwords for that environment, right? So let's say I will be passing here AWS access key. So I will just move this to the other screen, which I'm not sharing, just to enter my credentials. I will, so that's not visible. So let me just quickly enter that and come back. And also I will be adding another variables in the same one. I'll be saying a secret AWS access key is one and AWS secret access key is the other one. So two things I enter and I say add secret. And now I bring my screen back here, right? So what I'm doing here is I defined AWS underscore access underscore key and AWS underscore secret underscore access underscore key. So these are your Amazon keys, right? Which I will show you where those are coming from. Anyway, I assume because most of you are should be from a cloud environment. So you know we are entering Amazon access and those keys. Another thing, not mandatory, but as a safeguard, what we do, I say AWS default environment, right? So when I'm running this code, because I may have environment in, let's say, India region, some data centers, US multiple regions, right? So I can define by mistake, if I do something, I don't want to deploy in some wrong region. So I can say default region is this one. So if I explicitly mention my region in my code, it is just going to that particular region. So whatever region you want to restrict to, right? This has to do with your data residency and all, right? So let's say many organizations will have a very strict data residency requirement that all your deployment should be in the same region. So that's how you make sure it is that. So this, we are keeping it add secret, right? So these things are defined here. So these are the variables which will be used by the code here. So I'm saying the moment you check into development branch, these are evaluated from those secrets dot the variables we defined. These variables are populated. And then you say which environment you run to. You run to, I will change develop to dev here. I will do it in the in my code up here, right? So that it's easy to track from the GitHub one. So let's go to my command prompt, right? So let's change this code a bit. So ls7ltr. So I will open vi.github and then I enter workflow and I enter develop, right? So here I go and I change my target environment. I'm saying because I've created an environment called dev. So I say target environment is dev, right? Same, I will change for wherever that occurrence happens, right? Right? And apply also to dev environment. right? So that's all I have. So I'll just quickly DEVELOP. I'll just do a quick search just to ensure it does not affect. I've changed all the variables, right? Cool. So I say git add dot git commit -m, right? Updated env, right? Just I'm giving short names, but it should be meaningful in actual production work. So I am doing a push here. Oh, okay, sorry, I didn't check which branch I was on here and see. Okay, I did not check the branch. Okay. Okay, what I will do is quickly, let me just go back here. And what I will do is RF. I'll quickly remove this. And I will do a clone again quickly because I can roll back and all, but we don't have time in class to do that. So I will just quickly clone my demo repo again here. Cool. And then I say Terraform demo. And then I say git PRENCH, which branch I'm on. And I say checkout. Check out my DEVE develop branch, and just ensure I'm on develop branch. And then I say vi.github, and I say workflow, and I say that file, right? Cool. So here, yeah. Okay, all good. So now, so I'm saying, I think some other change I did and I forgot to maybe commit. So let's say git pull, just ensuring everything is fine. Now let's go back here. See, it's saying some recent changes has happened. So now I go, see, in the action, it automatically triggered because what happened? I was doing a push here and it gave a conflict for something else. But if I go to workflows here, you can see that workflow got updated. Sorry, not on master, on the development branch, right? So on the development, you can see that got updated. Dev, right? It got updated. But let's go to action, what it is saying. If I click here and go here, so it is saying invalid workspace, right? So it is looking for a workspace, Terraform -demo-dev. Obvious thing, right? How it is looking for that? Because look at the variables, how we have defined that workflow. If I go into my workflow, into that dev branch, so workflow is, you have taken the project name, which is our repository, Terraform-demo, and then we are saying target environment. Target environment is dev. So that's how it constructed the variable Terraform-demo-dev. And it is looking for that in this organization. Obviously, it will not find, it is not there, right? So what we do, I go to organizations and I create a workspace. So what workspace I create? API driven workspace, right? So this is what I was mentioning you. So I say demo, I say create workspace. So exact name, it should be exact name what we have given in the demo or in our repository, how it is constructing, right? So it's taking your repo name, appending to the environment name, which is coming from here. We have defined the environment, right? Here we have defined that environment. So now let's go to actions again. So I click here. What I can do is I can say rerun field jobs. Right? But before that, let me show you my Amazon account as well, just to make sure you guys are clear, right? So this is my Amazon account. If you look here, so what happens is if I go to IAM, what I've done is I open my IAM here. So I have defined a user group. In that user group, I defined a user, which I'm using specifically just for Terraform operations. And I've defined some credentials. So these are the credentials which I entered when I moved my screen away. So this has full rights in this environment to execute some Amazon actions, right? But we'll come to that, right? So let me just move it back, the screen back here. So I say run this job. Now let's see what happens now. So it is running some actions. If I go to my this one, workspaces, you will see it whether it has reached here or not. Is it doing any action here or not? Right. So it is first, it is planning. Planning means it will check the code which we have written. Is syntax all right and all things are correct or not? Now it has failed for some logic in our Terraform in the environment file, right? So now let's come to that now. So let me go to my code now. So this is now, although this is not a Terraform class, but I will show you what it is, what we are doing, right? So high level Terraform structure is you have your main file. This is where your execution start. It can be even blank, and then you can create separate files for each one. Let's say for your S3 bucket, for your VPC and all, but it always starts from your main branch, right? So under the environments file, right? So this, if I go to CD environment, ls-l, so we define environment files, right? So there's a variable called tfvars. There's a file called tfvars, which is used for defining your variables. So if you go here and look at the error, so because my environment is dev.tfvars, and it's saying it does not exist, right? Because I renamed it. So what I do, I will move dev to dev.tfvars, right? And let me show you what that contains. So I'm giving some name, Helix. I'm calling project name, environment dev. I'm saying region and some VPC. I'm saying 20/016, something. And if you look at my Amazon environment, which I shared with you, so there's no such VPC by that name. If I refresh here, I'm in Ohio region. There's no such VPC with that 20 VPC CIDR, right? So let's pull the screen side. Now let's, we have fixed that, right? And I say dot, and here we are saying git add. I'm adding whatever all we committed, and then I say git commit -m. Let's say change env file, right? And then I say git push. Right? So it did a push to development branch, git branch. Right? I have pushed to development branch. So now let's go back here in the actions. See, automatically the push triggered an action, because how that YAML file is saying, whenever a push happens, just start the trigger. So now this job has again ran. So now let's see what happens. So it's taking some time to deploy. Let it go once, then probably we can take some questions. I will walk you through one successful cycle of deployment, just going step by step, showing what it is looks for and how it defining. Right. So see, it has still not hit the Terraform cloud. It is still doing planning. See, the plan is now successful. Now it will go into run stage. Now this is where you will start seeing it hitting the cloud. Yeah, let it run. Yeah, because I've run it many times, so I think hopefully my resources are not pre-utilization is not up there. So see, job is about to start running on the hosted runner. See, now, see, you can see it has contacted the cloud now. So it did the plan on the GitHub side, right? It did that phase, did that plan, verified, validated code, all those make sense, connected to the cloud, and it submitted that plan up here. So now that plan find, if it went to that stage and see, now it is queued. Queued means to be applied to the provider. So now let's look at what happened here. Now it failed. Now let's go here and break down what happened here. Okay. So now you see here, I think I've given a wrong key and coded authorization field. You are not authorized to perform this action. Okay, let me check my key. Let me go back to my GitHub and check this key quickly. So in the meanwhile, any questions you guys have, let me know. I will try to answer those questions, right? So let me fix up the key. So what I will be doing, I think, yeah, I've copied from my other environment. Oh, so I will copied from my other setup. So let me just show you what I will be doing here. I will be fixing, I will go to environment. I will go to dev. Within that dev, I will go and update access key and my secret key. I go here. So when I click here, obviously I will not be able to see that one, right? So let me just enter my password. So I will enter my one here. I entered the wrong one. So save, I will rotate it after the class and I will go to secret one. I will update this. Let me just take this to the side screen. And update this value here, save it. Now coming back here, right? So now I've updated, you see, updated 18 seconds, updated now. Now let's go to the actions. So now what I can do is I can just rerun it from the failed step. Because I've not made change to the code. If I would have made change to the code, then I have to rerun it from the beginning, because if you remember, it is checking out that code onto the runners on the GitHub. So obviously, if there's a code change, the runners will not know if I don't deploy it from the beginning. But if these kind of like credentials, these all things have failed, then there's no change in the code happened. It's only about the credential part. So I will rerun that. So now you see it's planning and it will apply that. So let me just pull up my Amazon account here. So let it see how much time it takes. It's running the apply, it's planning, it should be quick here. So, yeah, so let it run through. So there are a lot of details here in this, how these environments are set up, how we do it, right? At the moment, so you for your demo, I've given you a dev environment. But actually, your automated deployment, the moment you check in code, should happen even in a lower environment, means in your test environment. So it should, test environment should see now run is successful. You go here, you see applied. So now let me bring my environment for here, right? So I do a refresh here. You will see it deployed that VPC, right? 21, it deployed there, the code and all those things which I have set in through Terraform, right? So I've set up a DHCP option, this subnet. Within that, I've created multiple subnets. For example, I've created subnets with the Helix, let's say Helix, right? I say enter. So I'm creating 2 subnets as well within that VPC. So this is all coming from this code here, vi main.terraform, right? So I'm saying create a VPC. What VPC? I have a variable. And within that VPC, I'm saying, okay, DHCP option, certain things. And I'm saying create subnet by looping through those subnets, right? So what those are, I've given here, VIENV dev. As I said, this is not a Terraform class, so I'm just quickly going through. So it is referring to the environment file where I've defined my variables, and this is my subnets. It's just looping through this, going through, it's a list here, and then it just applies that there, right? So now let's go back to my screen up here, right? So now I can click here. I can see what happened here, what action they did, right? Again, there are a lot of details, right? So we shouldn't be going there, maybe in another session. So now let's go back here now to actions. So we have development action, which is clicking automatically whenever the submit happens, right? It should be happening to the lowest environment, to the test environment, right? Then you approve it, and then it goes to your dev environment. So now let's go to settings here, right? So I go to environments, I go to dev. So I've not set any kind of protection, right? But let's say, as I said, your lowest environment should be test. The moment you submit your code, it deploys in test. But for your dev, it should, you can take review before deploying. So it will ask you before doing the deployment. I can control which branches it can deploy from. What does it mean? I'm controlling, let's say to the production, you shouldn't be deploying from development branch. Let's say in this case, I'm saying to this environment, which is dev environment, I can deploy only from development branch. Similarly for prod, I will create that prod can only be deployed from main branch. And I can have branching rules, right? For example, I have a master branch. I can add a protection here. What protection? I can say in the master branch, always require a pull request. And there must be approvals over there. 1, 2, 3 approvers. What does it mean? I'm done a development in the feature branch. I cannot merge my dev branch to the main branch without going through the pull request approval processes. And my deployment can happen only through specific branch. Let's say in dev, I'm saying only through dev. Similarly, in prod, I will say only through master branch. Again, a lot of details we will look as we go in the other sessions, but this is just a build up. So now let me show you here, right? So if I have to run develop here manually, I will not be able to run it from here, because this is how the workflow is defined. Only on action you submit and it's automatically happening. So that's how it should always happen to your lowest environment. But I have written a destroy as well, just for your understanding, you can refer it. So if I go to destroy, I'm getting a pop down. It is letting me option select. I'm saying dev. It is saying which environment to destroy, and it is asking me for confirmation also. Are you sure? And I say run workflow. So what it will do, it will clean the environments which I deployed, right? So how it is doing that, right? Let it run. So I will show you what it is doing, right? So the workflow which I have written, destroy one, in that one, I have written it like this. You see here, I'm saying inputs, you give the environment inputs, and then you say a Boolean value, required is true, default is false. So I have to tick it, then only it goes through that environment, and it picks that environment and it destroys that environment. Right? So the same one option I can build for my environments as well, right? So I can have a workflow, develop, prod, destroy, and generic. Means generic one I can use, and I can select down from there. I want to test, deploy, I want to deploy to prod, I can deploy to non-prod, different environments just from one file. What does it mean? I don't need to keep separate branches for environment. For example, for master, obviously it should always be used for prod. But let's say I have a test environment and a dev environment or a staging environment. So it does not mean that I have to have test, dev, and staging branches. I will just have one develop branch, and I can do my drop down, and I can say from dev branch, deploy to test, dev, staging. I can select there, right? And I can say when a code moves from test environment to a dev environment, you should approve it, right? On the screen, which I showed you. So let me just quickly go back and show you the action, and then let's go back to the question if somebody is, okay, so it's running, destroy. So now you can see again, I go here. Workspaces. So now you see apply is queued. Now destroy action will come in and it will destroy my VPCs, right? So now you see, you can see my VPC. So let's give it a few seconds. So it's in progress, about to see the run happened. So now you see here, you see the infra which I deployed. I just do a refresh here. It's gone. Okay. So what is happening here? Let me show you one thing, and then we will take questions. We can take questions here. So there's an important thing here where we are saying provider. What is this provider? Right. So although I'm connecting to Terraform, but I can deploy to Azure, I can deploy to GCP, I can deploy to AWS. There are a lot of other providers we have, right? So if I go to my slide, so what happens is you have environment files where you define which environment it should go to, tab, dash, prod, staging, your main file where your code starts, and variable files where you do variable initializations. You pass that to Terraform. Terraform has a provider. Provider means, let's say if I'm saying create a VPC in Amazon, obviously when I'm saying Terraform should understand what I'm saying, right? How does it know how Amazon's VPC creation works, how Amazon's APIs work, right? So that's where your providers come into picture. So Terraform has a list of long set of providers. So we are using AWS provider. So when we say AWS provider, Terraform knows the code which we are talking about has to be executed on Amazon cloud using Amazon APIs. So that's what it is doing, right? So I'm saying provider AWS, and I'm saying version. So this version is not the version of Terraform. Terraform version is different. Terraform different version is defined in version file. So this is the version of the provider, right? So it is quite possible your Terraform might be at one version, but they keep on updating their APIs for particular infrastructure for particular cloud provider. So we can get all this from documentation, what versions they are at. So I'm saying required provider, Amazon, and you should be using this version of that provider. And these are the variables it is picking from the GitHub we defined. And important thing here is this one. So when I'm saying cloud curly braces, what does it mean is I'm telling it the code which you are running, it's running on Terraform cloud. So what does it mean? It automatically understands that all that state management and everything has to be managed by Terraform, right? So this question might have come to your mind when I said destroyed. How did it knew that what was there? So this workspace has states of what happened, right? If I can go into the history, look into details, what resources was provisioned, it has state machines, right? It has applied all those history, it will have logs here. So it is keeping a state. So where it is keeping that state? In the cloud. But I can have this if I'm not using Terraform cloud. As I said, I can have my own standalone instance at home and Linux box. In that one, what I will do, because I will not be talking to Terraform cloud, I have to say backend curly braces, what kind of backend I want. I will define a database where I want a backup. And this backup could be on also an S3, Amazon DynamoDB, and multiple stores, right? But this is making our life easier. Okay, all good. So that's what I had here, although a lot of things are still pending, but yeah, let's take any questions. Any questions you have?
I have one question. Like, is Terraform is immutable?
Yeah, so what happened is, right? So that's a good question, right? So his question is, when we deploy in environments, right? There are two kind of environments we can have, mutable and immutable, right? So immutable means I'm not changing the environment or I'm not changing what I have deployed. Every time I create a new one. So what does it mean? Let's say I build up some EC2 instance, which had, let's say, some package installed. And if that environment is mutable, what does it mean? If I have to update that, what I have to do? I'm not destroying EC2 instance. I'm going to that node. I'm updating a particular package. So that step could be, I might have to uninstall the first package and install a new package. So it means that infrastructure is mutable, right? Immutable means every time if need be, I destroy the old one and I create a new one rather than going through that intricacies of that, right? So the Terraform here, in this case, is immutable, right? But for example, Ansible and all, we can run because Ansible is a configuration management system, this is more of an orchestration system. I'm not saying we cannot do each other's work. So in this case also, let's say I'm doing a package build. Let's say one of the, let's say I might have deployed an EC2 instance in Amazon, and I might have deployed some Python package there. So I might need to change the version of that package, right? So I can do a build change on that, but Terraform is actually not designed for that. It is always creates a new one. So it's immutable by nature, by default. Ansible is like in Ansible, we can change it, but in Terraform, we prefer creating the new one because it's an infrastructure as a code. It works as an orchestration of your infrastructure underlying layer. And if you're looking at changing your code and all, we prefer Ansible and all. Yeah. So coming back to his question, right? So if you guys are keen, so let me share my repositories here. So there are a few repositories. Obviously, I've cloned from other. This is my repository, which I use now. This is my repository, for very old repository, where when I used to run Git DevOps courses, this is about 10 years old, some old stuff. Then I have, this is my repository, Airflow one. There's an Ansible repository also here, because I have a lot of repositories. So that is also my complete examples, right? Deploying a lot of infrastructure with Ansible. For example, another good question which came to my mind after this question is, we talk about providers, right? So obviously I cannot use Terraform for something which does not has a provider available. Let's say at home, I want to orchestrate some environment. I want to set up my configure my home environment where I have, let's say, my DNS running, DSCP servers running. I have my own NAS running, all those things, right? So I cannot use Terraform for that kind of thing because there's no provider for us orchestrating my local infrastructure. So over there, I will go with Ansible kind of a environment, Ansible kind of a tool. Any other questions? Okay, cool guys. So as I mentioned, right? So I don't do any trainings anymore, right? But feel free to reach out to me with any questions you have. So you can go up here, although I've referred my link here, but I don't run these courses anymore because like I'm quite busy with a lot of other things. But if somebody has any questions, feel free to drop me an email, any kind of an architectural review discussion they want to do. We can find some time, and it's all free. Nothing. I don't run any paid sessions or courses anymore because I now think of contributing back to the community by helping whoever needs help. So it could be about a lot of things. Like, as I mentioned, my journey mainly has been in Hadoop and all from the very initial days. So I worked on platforms which were not orchestrated automatically. For example, Cloudera Hortonworks came much later. Apache Hadoop and all, where you go and do all your deployments manually using Puppet and all those kind of environments. You take control of configs at the command level, each config file and all. So yeah, feel free to reach out to me with any questions you have. So if there are no further questions, then probably I will close this session. I will stop sharing, and I will also stop the recording. I will share the link in our meetup groups for you guys to review the recording. And as I mentioned, this was a very introductory one. We did not touch upon the details of branching strategies, how we should have create branches, how the code should move, how the commit should happen. And Terraform itself is a very vast topic, right? I'm running a lot of very complex environment with transit gateways and NAT isolated subnets and all those all through Terraform. But as we go along in the next sessions, I will do that. So I think that there's another message which came up here. Let me see. Send GitHub ID or link. Okay, sure. Let me paste you here because it will be easy sometime, because from the slides it's difficult to copy. Let me just give you my GitHub here in the chat itself. It will be easy. So this is my GitHub. You can reach anything, anywhere from this GitHub. My contact is there. My other GitHubs are there, because a lot of other code also I keep in private repos, because obviously I don't want to expose that code. But if somebody has any questions, yeah, feel free. Cool. Great, guys. Thanks very much. And talk soon. Maybe I will update on the next sessions to these, and then we'll start more details. We'll take sessions on Terraform and GitHub Actions, branching strategies, best practices, all those kind of things. We'll go. Cool, guys. Thanks very much. Enjoy your evening. Have a nice day. Bye. Thanks.